Welcome to our special meeting, Speech-a-Thon. And it's my pleasure to introduce our Toastmaster of the day, who is also our favorite Vice President Education. He's originally from Hong Kong and he's now a citizen of the US. He began his Toastmasters journey in 2017. In November 2018, he became the first Pathways DTM in District 50. He's an active trainer both on and offline, in and outside of Toastmasters. He enjoys learning from experts from around the world. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster of the day, distinguished Toastmaster, the best of the best, and only one, Roger Fang.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I am very glad that there is only one Roger Fung in this world. How in the world are we going to survive with another one? The evil twin brother that I've never met. And who knows? Hey, we survived 2020 and we're still kind of 1 foot in this COVID war in 21. We can expect anything that could happen, especially this meeting. Now, with Speech-a-Thon, of course, we try to jam pack as many speeches as possible because we are a large club and we have people from all walks of life. In fact, yesterday I was having a team meeting with some of our folks getting ready for our speech contest. And I commented to them that we have a group of wonderful storytellers sharing their background, their experience, and they have been living and are currently living in areas that I may have never been to. And all those experience I get to experience through osmosis, through their story. And I can almost place myself in a lot of those situations. For example, when John jumped off and doing all sorts of crazy stunts, I say, hey, good for him, but not for me. I am glad he's in our meeting. I can get to experience it through his eyes, so I don't have to risk my life. So thank you very much, John. And today he's risking his life to help me out in this meeting. John, tell us, what are you going to be focusing on today?
Thanks, Roger. Hello, Witty Birds. Today I'll be taking up the role of the timer. I'll be helping us keep our meeting on track for a successful speech-a-thon. So this is what I'll be doing. I'll be timing each of our speeches and the evaluation. So I'll be giving signals using my Zoom backdrop so that it signals the minimum point of the speech, the midpoint, and the maximum point of the speech. So what I'll be doing is at the minimum point, say your speech is 5 to 7 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you will see my background turn green. And at the midpoint, at 6-minute mark, you will see the yellow background. And of course, when we hit the maximum, you will see a red. So that's when we should look to wrap up the speech. So in case we do go over the time limit, more than 30 seconds, I would give a little bit of an audible cue, which to serve as a gentle interruption for us to stay on track. So what you would also find helpful is if you would want to pin me into your Zoom, that in the top right corner, you will see 3 dots. Just click on it and hit pin. So that way you'll always have me the cues whenever you're doing a speech. And yep, that's from me. Back to you, Roger.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. If you have never been a timer in our club, you want to try it because you get to appreciate it when other people are doing the timing. It can be very stressful when you are trying to focus in helping everybody else. So I believe he would appreciate, and I would definitely appreciate if you would keep an eye on him and using his color flags and background to guide your way. Because this is one of the things, it's not just simply how to have the confidence to speak in front of folks, but doing it all within the context and time limit that you've been given. It's always better when the audience and the organizer says, Roger, tell us some more. That is a welcome comment rather than, Roger, hey, time out. I don't think we have time. So not to delay any more longer, let me welcome our very first speaker of the day, and that is Mac. Now, Mac is working off of the dynamic leadership, delivering social speeches. Now, he's presenting a social speech that is a combination of what he had done last time, and he's doing it a different one. And the founder of Toastmaster on the surface didn't appear to be a man who would create a worldwide organization. So who really is this guy? So help me welcome Matt White, who really was Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. Mac.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. Welcome to the annual meeting of the Toastmasters Historical Society. Our mission is to continue the legacy of the founder of Toastmasters, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. Dr. Smedley lived from 1878 to 1865. Let's meet him. Personal background. To use the old adage, you can't judge a book by its cover. On the surface, Dr. Smedley wasn't a real impressive person. He was born in rural Illinois. His education, he graduated from high school. Then he actually started teaching locally. Then he went to college. Can you imagine that happening today? He went to school at Illinois Wesleyan University, who would later on in his career recognize him through a doctorate of humane letters for service to mankind. After college, he went and joined the YMCA as a staff member. There he noted that young men, no women yet, were lacking interpersonal skills, communication, management, and the leadership needed to survive and be successful in that world. Those characteristics are still relevant today in Toastmasters. As he noted, education is our business in Toastmasters. Personal attributes. He was a modest, quiet person. But he also noted that sometimes it pays to make yourself look ridiculous, just to prove you can. Tireless worker. Most importantly, he had a passion for helping others realize their full potential. He noted, though, in order to achieve that potential, you've got to be prepared. The unprepared speaker has the right to be afraid, was one of his favorite quotes. In 1905, he made his first attempt to create Toastmasters. Didn't go well because he left and there was a lack of leadership and direction in his absence. And we still see that today in many nonprofit organizations. That's why you've got to have broad training for all members so the club continues on regardless of who comes and goes. In his second attempt, he thought, well, I'm going to tap into local businessmen. They need these kind of skills. That didn't work either. Finally, in 1924, he moved to Santa Ana, California, where he created Club Number 1, still in existence. He got so many requests for information and everything, he created the manual of instructions and 10 lessons in public speaking. In 1928, he trademarked the Toastmaster name. He was dedicated to community service. From 1924 to 1941, he continued to work at YMCA during the day, probably some evenings, and still supporting Toastmasters. Finally, in 1941, he was elected and hired as the General Secretary of Toastmasters. In 1956, he was president, and he was also elected to be board member for life. He was dedicated to his death in Toastmasters until 1965. His legacy continues today as we have thousands of Toastmaster members, thousands of clubs. So in conclusion, let's raise our glasses and salute Dr. Smedley for his lifelong work. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much. What a way to get our meeting started with this first speech, reminding us that we are enjoying the fruit of this man and others who are in the formative years putting this organizations together. And maybe one of these days we'll run another speech-a-thon, but all about how we have benefited and what we have learned and how we have grown because of this organization and the support from one another. Thank you very much, Mac. Let us go ahead and use that chat box and drop him some notes. At any point you think of something, hey, I like that part. Maybe I should adjust that thing, da 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 da. Use that chat box. You can put it as a private note. Public, it's up to you. While you do that, let us get ready for our second speaker for today, Elda. Elda is working, Elda is working on the persuasive influence path. This particular project is called Using Descriptive Language. The title of her speech is The Color of Love. So help me welcome Elda, The Color of Love, The Color of Love, Elda.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. I actually changed my title today to My Special Place. So fellow Toastmasters and guests, I'm very excited to take you to my special place. It's immaculate and it's warm, but we equally untidy. There's an island with apples, avocados, and bananas with a stack of papers right next to it. On the other side of my special place, there's the shiny ebony cooker. And on days when it is cold outside, I find the space idyllically warm. As I stand over the warm surface and craft my many Instagram-worthy masterpieces, I truly feel at home. To the left of this shiny ebony cooker, you will find soft cloud white cabinets that store spices and herbs and other knickknacks. As you open the door, the warm fragrances of cinnamon, cumin, turmeric envelop the senses and often take me to the most tender childhood memories, thinking of dishes that my mother would cook for us. The other cabinet has stacks of brightly colored plates and glasses, red, orange, yellow, green. Some glasses have butterflies and ladybugs. And then there's the mug that says, ask, seek, and knock, the motto for my life. The pots and pans in my ideal space would all hang from the ceiling like chandeliers. Right now, they're stuffed into a little cabinet right at the bottom so that I can fit all of them in. The pots, in some of them I've had for ages, and they have the cracks and dents to tell the story. If you peek to the other bottom drawer, you'll find a nicely embroidered tablecloth that gets its guest appearance on special occasions, Christmas, birthdays, and anniversaries. Then there's the treasure trove, the place where all the scrumptious goodies are stored. You will find tomatoes, peaches, plums, grapes, some mustard, some hot sauce. Oh, and to appease my sweet tooth, some dark chocolate. And on occasion, in the freezer, I keep some salted caramel, but I try not to make it into a habit. So I try to keep food that is easy to prepare, and sometimes when I feel like it, to make an elaborate meal. I love food, so it's not surprising that this is my special place. I don't only eat there, it's the space I go to relax after a long day at work, or when I need to unwind or think through a problem. The meals vary from the elaborate seafood pasta or a simple tomato soup. However, the process of chopping the vegetables, mixing spices, and interpreting recipes into meals that are relished by family and friends, brings me tremendous amount of joy. It's like Picasso in his studio coming up with his latest piece of art. In my special place, I know that the work that I do is for the love and nourishment of others, and I put my soul into the final product. I absolutely love spending sometimes hours coming up with an elaborate recipe. And I think I must have passed the bug on to my niece, because she just sent me a recipe 2 days ago and put me a child and said, let's make a Japanese cheesecake. So tomorrow we have a date on Zoom to come up with a Japanese cheesecake. I think you have all figured out by now that my special place is the kitchen. My kitchen is my sanctuary. I know that's some like the gym, and so do I. I enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy watching Netflix in my living room, but the kitchen provides an additional respite. It's a place where I can mindlessly think through a problem. I get some of my inspiration, and I'm able to feel free and creative. I don't do it because I have to. I do it because I love to. And that makes a huge difference. I recently embarked on a plant-based journey and have been enamored at the discoveries I've made and the new dishes that I've created in my kitchen. Did you know that oven-baked chickpeas make a delicious, crispy snack, or just a great addition to your wrap, especially if you top it with a little bit of olive oil, paprika, or turmeric? You will be so surprised at how delicious that is. You should try it. And who knows, the kitchen can be your special place, or maybe one day I can invite you to my special place, Mr. Toastmaster.
Hold on. Wait. Let me wipe off all of those saliva that's coming out of me. Excuse, I'm so sorry. But I do know that when all those worldwide lockdown has been lifted, our next Witty Bird meeting will be at a special place, specifically at Elda's special place. So put that on your calendar. Thank you very much, Elda. And now, here's the challenge. We have 2 evaluators coming from the United Kingdom to give us some feedback on the last 2 speakers. And John, they both have 1 minute each. And all you have to do is to flash the red light at 1 minute. There's no warning. And when it's flashed, you better wrap it up. So our first evaluator is Irene.
Thank you, Roger. Okay, Mac, you're always so confident. You're always smiling. What a great welcome. Really enjoyed it. And I think all of us here, thank you for reminding us about Ralph Smedley. I personally wouldn't have known the history. I thought that you were very clear. I thought that how you told the story, lots of facts, lots of things. And, you know, nearly 100 years ago, this guy coming in there, trying it, didn't work, tried again, didn't work, and then Santa Ana. I just thought the whole story was very believable. You asked me specifically about transitioning, and I think you did that really well. There didn't seem to be, there was 1 or 2 little hitches, but nothing that was really obvious. The only thing I would say is that on the photograph of Ralph Smedley, there was lots of words, and I wanted to read it. And I didn't have enough time. So either get rid of the words or maybe, well, I get rid of the words. Okay, that's it. And it was great. Loved it. Thank you very much. Back to you, Roger.
Excellent. Thank you very much. A quick reminder, make sure you do those written evaluations, because I'm sure Irene has a whole lot more things that she wants to share with Mac. So our second evaluator is none other than Mr. Mr. Miami Vice, Michael Smith.
Thank you. Well, Hilda, that was amazing. It's made a lot of us very hungry. But I want to say first, I think it was the best thing was to definitely change the title, that's one thing I'll definitely say that, because when you started it, it actually poured into like a poem. So that's what I like. So yes, it was excellent how you told about what you like about your fruits, your spies, and your rooms, and everything else. What you did like, and especially when you came in through the stuff like your special place is your kitchen. And it was amazing how you went through everything that makes you calm. So that was good. The only thing I'll probably say out of it, probably space it out a bit more by when you told us about when you went into the kitchen. But apart from that, there was no problems at all. And I think you summed up, you delivered quite well, as you asked me to. And I think you did amazing. And especially when you went through the whole list, it's like, again, that's why I get back to it, because you used the word special place. So your final ending was brilliant. So back to you.
Thank you very much. Are you all warmed up? Are you excited? We've got more speakers, right? So to inspire us, to get your blood pumping, to really dazzle you is our speaker number 3, our soon-to-be member in 24 hours, doing her very first speech here, her icebreaker, Amina. Her speech title is "The Struggle Was Worth It." The struggle was worth it, Amina. Let's try unmuting one more time. Mute and unmute, Amina. And let's test the audio again. Oop, not quite. Let's see if your connection of your headset.
I'm audible now?
All good. So let me restart. Amina, the struggle was worth it. The struggle was worth it. Amina.
Thank you, Toastmaster Roger. Let me describe my personality in one perfect quote. We walk every day with a smile on our face does not mean that we are happy. It simply means that we have mastered the art of hiding our pain. Fellow Toastmasters, may peace and blessings of the Almighty be upon all of you. My name is Amina Bashir and I am from Pakistan. Today, I'll be sharing some of my stories with you. But let me just ask you a simple question. Has this question, will my struggles be worth it? Will my efforts bear some fruit, ever popped up in your mind? If this question has popped up at some point in your minds, then you will surely relate to my story. I am currently doing my bachelor's in electrical engineering from NUS, which is a university in Islamabad, Pakistan. Islamabad, by the way, is a very, very beautiful city. An electrical engineering course is a very, very interesting course. They teach you a lot of handy, useful stuff. They teach you how to build electronic circuits. They teach you some fancy energy conversion techniques. They teach you programming languages. They teach you loads and loads of mathematics. The only thing that they forget to teach you is how to build a career out of it in Pakistan, how to build a bank balance out of it. They just skip over that. So if you want a course, but you want to stay unemployed for the rest of your lives, I would highly recommend you to take this course. Jokes apart, this experience has been very helpful for me. Let me share an incident from my life, which is the Students' Orientation Week. Well, stop right there. In introvert language, we call it a nightmare because I have been since my childhood very shy and an introvert, and I would always run away from interactive sessions. And I did not attend the Students' Orientation Week. Bad news, I am boring. But the good news is I suddenly realized that I had to change myself, that I had to adapt to my surroundings, and I had to develop an extrovert attitude. Toastmasters, failure is never fatal and defeat is never deadly unless and until you decide that you will never surrender and you decide that you will try and try. And that is what I did. I tried and tried and I invested massively into my psychological, emotional, and social upbringing. And this describes my reason of joining the Toastmasters Club. I would really like to thank Toastmasters for providing me such a beautiful opportunity. Another very important incident from my life that I would like to share with all my new friends is the COVID-19 lockdown. Yes, my friends, a lot of stereotypes are breaking out in our surroundings, and many people are talking about the repercussions, about the bad effects of the lockdown. But let's just look at the positive side of this whole dark story. I personally got an opportunity to interact with my family, to talk to them, to understand their perspectives, to know their ambitions and what they think about me. What usually happens is that in the hustle and bustle of life, where we are just struggling to improve our financial status, we are struggling to gather wealth, we usually ignore our children, we usually ignore our near and dear ones. So there is a positive side to this whole nerve-wracking scenario. I would like to tell my fellows that develop a positive attitude on life, have an overall optimistic outlook on your lives. Thank you, Toastmasters, for having me the opportunity to speak today. Thank you all my fellows for such a warm reception in the first place. I would really say that there comes a point in your lives when you have to choose whether you want to stay silent or you want to speak up for yourself. And I would really like to, from all my bottom of my heart, like to thank Toastmaster for providing me the opportunity to participate in such an interactive session. Thank you, Toastmaster Roger. Over to you.
Let us continue with this interactive session by unmuting all of our audio. Please unmute yourself. Everybody unmute, and let's give her a round of applause.
Very good, Amina. Welcome.
Well done.
Well done.
Kudos.
I would give you a standing ovation, but I don't want to embarrass myself by showing you my tummy. With that said, yes, please use that chat box. Drop those little notes. Let's give some kudos and some encouragement to one another. And Amina, you knocked this out of the park, and I can't wait until Pamela tell us what she observed. Our fourth speaker for the day is Gail. Now, Gail is working on the Dynamic Leadership Create a Podcast project. She has created a podcast. She's going to introduce it to us, show us part of that podcast so we can experience it with her, and then she will close her speech with a conclusion. For timing purposes, it's going to be 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, and 2 minutes. So at 2, 5, and 7, let us welcome Gail Chen. Create a talk show podcast. Create a talk show podcast. Gail.
Thank you, Roger. May I share my file? My fellow Witty members and dear guests. Today, I'm going to deliver my Dynamic Leadership Create a Podcast. I will focus on the talk show podcast. And for podcast, nowadays very popular for podcast. It including talk show podcast, informational podcast, and entertainment podcast. And some popular categories including news, comedy, music, stories, sports, technology, art, and culture. Today, I'd like to introduce you this iStory. Our video is focused on storytelling, and your personal stories always inspire others. And storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world. So I create my podcast. It's called iStory Podcast. And today we will move to Island of Wight to interview one of our members, Michael Smith. We will move to Newport the tiny town of the island of White. We will interview Michael Smith. He has been a cabin manager, and he has ever worked at Brittany Ferries, that is a steamship. I think during his working experience, he is then the leadership skills. And now I'd like to share with you my podcast. Roger, can I share my podcast? Here.
Yes, all you have to do is
Oh,
play it.
it's okay.
Neat.
And
Can you see?
is that sound
It's
going?
also a big political party that goes across Europe.
Mhm.
And for instance, you've got a big green big green
Big green.
number of people in the European Union at the moment in the Parliament, plus Germany. In the UK, it is quite sort of small, but we have, in general, we've got one Green Party MP in the House of Parliament.
Mhm.
And we have 3 or 4 in the House of Lords.
Mhm.
And I think it's about 5 altogether county councils run by the Green Party. So the Green Party itself it's basically splits into, I'll say, splits into 3 really, because you have the environment.
Environment.
It's not always about environment.
Focus on the environment, right?
Yeah, but it's one of the things that thing. But we also care about employment, a fair life of living where everything is sort of, I suppose, put it this way, it's like trying to get a sort of where people have been struggling through COVID and also so we're just trying to sort out where people can have a proper living wage and everything else. So we care about services and a whole lot of industry, because people think Green Party think, oh, it's environment, but it's not just environment.
Always focus on environment.
Yeah, so it's a lot of things, because what the main parties you've got is the Conservative Party, Labour, the Liberal Democrats, and then Greens. And then you have those parties in Wales and Scotland, but where the Greens really are in between Lib Dem and Labour, really, because originally I was a Liberal Democrat, but I moved to the Green Party because I felt they showed me where, well, I could sort of fit in, and the things that they were doing is what I was liking, really, because at the moment I think a lot of people are really struggling a lot with in normal life and everything else, and I think it was just one of the things that it attracted me, really. I think, yes, it's a small party, but people are starting to thinking, okay, we do like their ideas, so it's just one of those sort of things, really. But no, we managed to get they've managed to sort out stuff, a lot of climate emergencies for the councils, so that's pretty quite good, because there's a lot of
Toastmaster. No,
yeah.
So it helps you. It helps you when you will nominate the candidate, and you will give a speech. Will you give a speech?
I had to video it. So yes, there was a recording where I was given some questions. So
yeah, nomination. Thank you for all of you. Could you imagine Smith has ever suffering the learning difficulties, so-called dyslexia? he got some problems to remember the short-term memories, but his long-term memories is good. And we are so proud that Natalie and Smith has been nominated to the County Council Green Party and candidates. And we wish on May 6, 2020, they will win the election. And the Toastmaster can change many things. I think Smith then get more confident when he delivered speech, when he in public speak. And the lockdown, he learned many skills. And he not only more confident, and I think with his patience, he and Natalie will win the election of County Council Green Party. And with their passionate, I think they can devote much of their energy to their homeland, Island of Wight. Thank you so much for joining my iStory Pocket. I wish if you have chance, if you are interested, you can subscribe my iStory channel. Thank you so much. Congratulations to Natalie and Mike for your great job. Thank you. Now I beg my hand over to our Toastmaster update, Roger. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Certainly is something to try, something to learn in terms of podcasting or video podcasting. And with online platform like this, allow us to reach out to folks all over the world, and we always can learn something new. So thank you very much, Gail, for venturing into a brand new area for you. We have two speakers, evaluators, going to give us some feedback. John, a little later during this time, would you go ahead and post the 4 speakers timing into the chat box? So to evaluate our third speaker, Amina, is Pamela. Help me welcome our evaluator number 3, Pamela.
Witty birds, but especially Mina. I just want to share something that just happened. You see this? A rocket just launched out of Pakistan. It was a blazing rocket. See that combustion? Yes, we didn't really know it was going to happen, but boy, when it happened, we are all going to remember that rocket launching out of Pakistan. Now, this person told us she was a very shy, quiet girl, but out of her mouth came phrase after phrase after phrase after phrase of not giving up. That is combustion in my book. Now, how can I help Amina get to the next level where she's already so incredible the day before she joins? Okay, I got an idea. Let's go back to that time that was really, really, really hard. That time that you were in the student union for the orientation. Now, I think that was a lot of combustion there because you didn't want to do it and you didn't go. I think you take us to that point in your speech and then talk about how that is going to work and then how you're going to build out of it, because you came for your first speech with a lot of lists and a lot of things to say. Start with a story and then break it down for us. And that rocket launch will be incredible and everybody will want to see it.
Thank you very much. Boy, the next rocket ship is named Amina. All right, I got that edge in my head. Thank you very much, Pamela. Well, I don't know if the next evaluator can upstage us. I don't know what he's going to pull out of his tricks, but I'm sure he's going to give us some comments that, hey, I never thought of that. Mr. Sujit, tell us, what did you see and observe from Gail's speech?
Excellent podcast by Gail. A very well organized podcast with good sound quality, no noise, and a lot of effort has gone into preparation and conducting this podcast. And I congratulate Gail and Michael for doing such a wonderful podcast. And listener, has to concentrate because of the variation in the pitch of both the speaker. And most importantly, as she rightly said, storytelling is the most powerful way to bring ideas into the world, and we will take away with that. And just with a small suggestion, I think it's a 60-minute podcast, and she has extracted 2 to 3 minutes podcast out of the entire recording. And when the podcast started, I couldn't listen to the posing of question of Gail and introduction of the topic or on what she wants to ask Michael. So that was the small thing which I was expecting. And I'll wish Gail all the best for her new endeavor and in the podcasting world. Thank you, and over to you, Roger.
Thank you very much. Hey, we're only halfway through our meeting. We still have 4 more speakers and 4 more evaluators. So let us continue on this journey as our storytelling ship and rocket has steered us all the way to Southeast Asia. Our fifth speaker is Tia. Tia is working off of the team collaboration, understanding your leadership style project. And she's going to be focused on some of the leadership experience and style that she have came across and share with us what her experience has been. So help me welcome Tia, leading in different situations. Tia.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Well, I believe each of you have come in a different situations. I remember the story of the 3 little pigs and also a wolf. When each of the pigs, they suddenly built a house which is different, comes from different materials. Why they did that? Because they think that this is one thing that's safe and also comfort for them. They think that, okay, it's fast and also cheaper and also easier. But the other one, they think it's safe and also it will be long lasting. And in the end, you see the result, right? That all of the wolves, they blew up all of the house, and who got the safest house is the last pig. And that is where I think it is one of the example for us to learn about our leadership style. And I'm very thankful because by day and day, I try to learn about how to lead in a very diligent way. And I know that I'm not perfect, but I'm still learning. And it is why I try to learn from each of my boss and also from my colleagues. And I think it is one of the best way to learn from them. So I think what really suits for me is I learn from each of them, but I also get feedbacks. And it is where I have the two-way communication. And it is where I always implement this leadership style in every places. And also when I joined Toastmasters and I started this project, I'm very thankful because this project allows me to complete one of the questionnaire where I need to complete like 48 questionnaires. So I have to one by one. And the result is I got the highest score for coaching. And coming next is the democratic. And the last 3 is innovative. So I think this leadership style really suits me well because from time to time, I always try to coach my team, whether they're still new or whether they're just joined in this team or they just joined from another company. I think it is one of the good things to know each of them rather than just put them in a job where they are just confused and don't know what to do. But I think it is one of the good things is to prepare the onboarding because I think one of the things and the most important thing to make them convenient and also prepare for the situations. I believe that one of us have learned about this democratic style. Yes, democratic style means you need to listen each of the people's opinion, feedbacks. And this is why it's very important because once we know what they want, And when we are working together, we know that we can reach our goals together. And it is one of the things that we can achieve. So by learning about what is their goals and what is their personal opinion, I think it will be one of the things that will help us to achieve our goals together. And also I believe that in every companies and also in every organizations, we have to keep moving forward. Why I explain this? Because I know that at this time, especially at this pandemic time, we experience these online meetings, and all of the companies suddenly they switch to hybrid. When once they were offline, and once they were just doing this face-to-face, and also all of the conventional things, suddenly they have to switch to the online things, and then they need to meet online as well. So this is one of the things that we have to prepare for ourselves, not from the company, but also from our own personal. Like for example, when all of the teams, especially the younger one, I believe they have learned something new, especially those who are expert in IT. So that is why the new IT knowledge is always improving and advanced. And I think one of the good thing is we can learn from the young generation, and also hopefully they can try to share what is the best thing that can help us to implement this new technology in the company. And in my company, for example, we started to apply this Scrum method in our company. So I think this is one of the good things, because usually we use the waterfall method. I think it's quite conventional, and most of the time the timeline is quite long. So once we are switching to Agile, it's one of the best way to be more productive. And also we can always think about what is the best idea that we can come up to make this process faster. So I think this is one of the best way that we can learn from generation to generation. I don't know about the future, but I hope we can get more new knowledge, because the alpha generation, I think, is one of the latest one. Hopefully we can be one of the witness, so we can see, oh, this is the future, and we can see all of it together. So I think that is all from me that I would like to share. Thank you. And over to you, Roger.
Thank you very much. Yes, use the chat box, drop some notes, give her some encouragement and what you thought of Tia's performance. Let's dive into our sixth speaker, and that is Jacqueline. Jacqueline's working on the motivational strategy, evaluation and feedback, part 2. That means that she have already given this speech, got some evaluations and feedback, and now she is incorporating the previous feedback into this speech. So Jacqueline's speech title is Learn to Love, part 2. So help me welcome Learn to Love, part 2, Jacqueline.
If someone loves you, do you know or not? If someone hates you, do you know or not? Fellow Toastmaster and honest faith, I be careful about my emotions, because I am the one who cannot hidden my emotion. When I really hate someone, I show my emotion. That is so bad that I try to learn to hidden my emotion. It's not success. And I think that why you hate him? Because you didn't understand him, or you don't know about his background, or why? It's not your business. I try to talk to myself and delete my emotion. Be careful when I hate someone. I learned a lot about help people when I was a student nurse in my second year nursing student. I learned CPR CPR. CPR means cardiopulmonary resuscitation. We need to help people when they are arrested. I learned by many kind of practice with my friend, practice with my teacher, and elaboration. And I quite confident with myself. But I don't know before what situation will be happen. In my home, there is one water well. Someone don't know about water well in our country. There are water well like this. Water well in our country is so many in 1870. And there's water well in the back of my house. Back to water well, there was a house. There's one man and his wife live. I really hate his family because he drunk. He very loud noise, and nobody in country love him. One day he into the well. I don't know because he drunk or not. I don't know. But many people told why he in the well, in the water well. I really excited. Why? And someone took him into the water well and tell us, help him please. At that time, he alert, cannot be. And his heart stopped pumping. At that time, I think about my lesson and I talk to many people. Tell him, you mouth to mouth and I will pump. At the first, I hit him in the sternum and I made pumping. When I pump, my heart is pumped very hard too because it's my first time CPR. And we call ambulance. At that time, no ambulance. And they have some cars, and we took him into the car and we hurry to the hospital. I pumping and many friends help him. Then before he arrived at the hospital, his heart worked. His heart was very people very happy because he can breathe by himself. And then he admitted at the hospital 1 week. I don't think about him. I never visit him. I just help because I think it's because of my duty. And then when he get well, I can't believe he changed his life. He gonna be a good people. He quit drunk. He quit make around noise or agreement with anybody. That's why he changed his life. I think, oh, it's really important. I'm really happy. I'm so proud when he changed his life. It's good to me because he is my neighbor. And then I thought and I talked to myself, you need to help everybody, even though you hate or you love, because everybody can change. And I teach myself all the time. It's not your business if you hate him or you hate her, because everybody has so many sides and background, and so have many things that sometimes I don't understand. If I understand everybody, I would be love everybody. I can love everybody in the world if I understand everybody, but I can't. But I thought myself is very important. Don't hate everybody. Don't hate anybody. If you know myself that you hate someone, you should delete. You should delete it in your heart. It's very important. Then you will make the beautiful world. That's why I learn to love. Learn to love, it means learn to help people. Learn to make the good thing for help our world happy, very beautiful world. Back to you to start all the day.
Thank you very much. We are running a little bit late, so let's jam pack and quickly dive into our portion for our last round, our two speakers and the two evaluators, 7 and 8. If you have any issues on time and you need to go, just drop a note to me, no problem. We'll pick it right back up. So Doris, our evaluator number 5, all yours for 1 minute.
Thank you, Roger. Taya, what a great presentation today. I like that you brought in your personal stories about coaching your team, about IT knowledge and learning from the younger generation, and you brought in a personal story, which added so much impact to your message. I like the quote, "This is the future." What a wonderful call to action. I could feel that you are a person that seeks knowledge all around you. Some improvements that you may want to add to your speech if you do it again, and I hope you do. There were some audio issues that almost sounded like some beach sounds behind you, which made me very jealous as a Canadian to hear those sounds. So maybe pay attention to what is around you before you start, because I know that's happened to me when I have other people in the household. Maybe add some voice variation, some highs, not that high, and lows in your voice, and maybe some quick and some slow when you're speaking to add a little bit more variety. My takeaway, be open to everyone around me and acquire new knowledge, because that is the future. Thank you, Tyra. That was an excellent speech today.
Thank you, Doris. Now let's swing over from Canada to the UK. Junsuk, evaluator number 6. Tell us, what did you observe?
Thank you. So thank you, Jacqueline, for your sharing your great story, Learn to Love with us. It was a great story because of a personal story. It engaged us how we can learn, other people. I had a little bit of an issue of listening, Jacqueline, because wearing mask. You had a great tone. You used a lot of a variety of tones. So when you're high pitch, it was okay to hear, but when you go down, it was slightly difficult to listen to. So maybe if you need to wear masks next time, maybe you need to practice a little bit more with the wearing mask and doing it. Or I don't know whether because of the regulation you have to wear the mask, then you need to practice a little bit to do that. Eye contact was good, and you were looking at other people's eyes. One side I could recommend is your screen is a little bit left side. You are really left-sided, so maybe go to the little bit middle. Yeah, that's right. That would be really good. And I was looking at people's, how people are reacting. They were trying to listen very carefully what you wanted to say, because your story is always engaging. And the way, because you're telling your real story, is your eyes is sparkling, as Pamela said last time, and I think you try to accommodate what Pamela said last time. The using variety of tones and use a bit of a structure the story. That was a really good speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, June. Let us dive into our 7th speaker for today, Andrew Nunn, distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Nunn, working on the visionary communication Level 1, evaluation feedback number 2, very similar to our last speaker, Jacqueline. The title of his speech is Land of Fire and Ice. The Land of Fire and Ice, Andrew Nunn.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. In 2003, my wife and I decided to take a holiday in Iceland, and we booked up with a company called Yona Tours, which is still a one-woman tour operator specializing in trips to Iceland. After we'd booked up, we had an invitation, or more like actually an instruction from Yona, to go down to her home in Somerset to meet the other 18 people that were going, and also to meet her and to be briefed. And this rather said quite a lot about Yona. Anyway, on the 16th of June 2003, we arrived at London Stansted Airport to board a Iceland Express aircraft, and we flew to Keflavik. Having arrived there, we were then transferred by coach to our hotel in Reykjavik, where we stayed overnight. Next morning, after breakfast, Reykjavik Airport again, and then we flew up to Akureyri, which is up in the north. It's quite a short flight, right in the north of Iceland. And on arrival there, we were met by Siggy, who was going to be our driver for the next 11 days or so. Now, he had a 27-seater Mercedes coach, and I didn't know you could get off-road coaches, but this was the nearest thing to an off-road coach. It had massive ground clearance, and it was designed for serious driving in adverse conditions. And we were very glad later on that we had a coach like that. Anyway, we set off from Akureyri on Route 1, which is the main road in Iceland. It runs all the way around the island, and it connects up the major centers of population. Not that they're very major, but anyway. So we set off along there. Now, we were about to set off on a trip of great exploration. We did lots of interesting things. Iceland's an amazing country, and there's absolutely no way I can tell you all about it in 7 minutes, but I'm just going to pick out a few things. I'll just say, first of all, it wasn't a restful holiday by any means. It was not for people who like the beach. It was very educational, very stimulating. We learned an awful lot, and we had a lot of very wonderful experiences. Anyway, we set off along Route 1, and the first, well, not the first place, but the first place I'm going to describe is the Vatnajökull glacier. It's one of the largest glaciers, if not the largest glacier in Europe. It's 7,900 square kilometers. It's about 1,200 feet to the top. And we turned off the Route 1 onto a dirt road. It was quite wide to start with and flat plain. And then it very quickly went into a very narrow, winding road. And Siggy was having to really concentrate on driving because there was massive holes in the road, lumps of rock, probably lava, and also there was a drop on one side, and he had to keep his eyes peeled. Anyway, we carried on, and some of the bends were quite challenging. On one of them, he had to back up the coach, and this was very reminiscent of you. Some of you may remember a film called The Italian Job, and it was very reminiscent of that, going around that bend. But anyway, we made our way to the top, up to the glacier. But to go further, we had to change transport, and we had to use skidoos, which are a bit like scooters with steerable skis on the front, and on the rear they have a track. And after a bit of instruction on how to drive them, we were equipped with red, very bright red motorcycle type overall suits, and provided with motorcycle crash helmets. And after some discussion, it was decided I would drive and my wife would ride on the back. So we mounted up. She put her arms around my waist very tightly so she wasn't going to fall off. And off we went, very gingerly at first. And then with a gain in confidence, we increased speed, and we were going quite well. And we got to the top and had a look round, and then we started to come down. And this was, I found, seemed a little less safe than going up, because there's no brakes on a skidoo, and it very quickly gains speed. And I had to learn to be very gentle with the throttle. Anyway, we got safely down to the bottom, and very, very enjoyable indeed. Our next port of call was an iceberg lagoon It's a place called Yokel Salon. Now, the ice lagoon is formed from the meltwater from the glacier that we just visited, the Vatnajökull glacier. And the meltwater forms this big lagoon, and then it fills up with icebergs, which are massive lumps of ice or pieces of ice, which have broken off from the glacier. Now, it's said that these icebergs remain in the lagoon for 5 years. I don't know why they should, but apparently they do, and then they eventually drift out into the North Atlantic. Anyway, we went on an amphibious boat trip. It starts off on the land and gradually goes into the water. And we went amongst these icebergs, and they're absolutely fantastic. They were towering up there, way, way above the boat. Incredible. And it really was quite an exciting thing. And this ice is probably 1,000 years old, because it's just formed from the compressed snow, which never melts up on the glacier. And we were invited to taste the ice, the 1,000-year-old ice, to see what we thought. I'm not sure if I did, but some people did. I might have done. But anyway, that was good. And we left there. And then our last port of call, just before we got back to Reykjavik, was the Geysir, well, boiling mud pit, for want of a better word. And the mud is all boiling up. And there's also the desperately trying to remember the name, sorry about that. There's also the Stokkur geyser, which erupts in about every 15 minutes, and it blasts water up into the air for 30 meters. Trying to take photographs of this was extremely frustrating, because the camera I had at the time always went into sleep mode just as I was about to press the shutter. And eventually I had to read the book and disable it so I could take some pictures, but very frustrating. Just to finish off, the last night we spent in Reykjavik, and we went to the Perlan restaurant, which we were told was the best restaurant in Reykjavik, but TripAdvisor doesn't say that anymore. But anyway, this was a revolving restaurant, a big glass hemisphere, and revolving, and it's sitting on top of 3 enormous hot water tanks, which hold the water, which comes in from a geothermal plant in the middle of Iceland. And this water is used to heat all the homes in Reykjavik. It's piped out to every home, and it provides hot water and heating for every home. Next day, of course, it was flying back to the UK. Wonderful holiday, absolutely wonderful. Lots more to see. Thoroughly recommend going there. It's absolutely incredible, and it really is the land of ice and fire. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tour Guide Andrew Nunn. So if you want to book your next trip to Iceland, you know who to call. Now, to round us off with our 8th speaker for today is Carlos. Carlos is working off of the innovative planning project called Using Descriptive Language. 4 accomplishments in 1 second. 4 accomplishments in 1 second. Carlos.
Thank you, Roger. And hello to all of these beautiful friends. What a wonderful audience. I'm very happy, very excited of giving a speech after such a long time. And I wanted to talk to you about productivity, the importance of productivity in a world that now moves in overwhelming speeds. And I wanted to show you how I get to accomplish 4 things in 1 second. But first, I want you to take a look at this. You get to see this broken tooth because last week I bite on the hardness of life, but mostly because of my dentist. She opened my mouth. She put a substance that resembled the molecular structure of my tooth. She sandpapered the excess material. She painted it with matching color. She polished it and gave it a forever minty flavor. But this repair only lasted for 23 years. Pure negligence, pure negligence. I can feel, I can sense the question that you have in your mind. You're wondering how I, in the first place, got this incomplete, yet charming smile, and you are going to love the story. The tragedy happened many years ago when my hair was bulky, when my knees didn't squeak, when my stomach knew how to digest different types of foods, when the horizon of my life was devoid of insomnia and lactose intolerance. The disaster took place in a very vivid, energizing, majestic place that only superior minds can comprehend and only the lucky ones get to experience. The football pitch. And by football, I mean what every galaxy, every solar system, every country, including England, the English-speaking nation that invented this delight, understands as the sport that uses a ball and is played with the foot, while others call it soccer. But moving on with the story. Picture myself in the middle of the field. The opposing team sent a long pass intended to one of the players, but I reacted rapidly and intercepted the ball with my chest and moved towards the open fields of the right kingdom, of the right side. And then I ran, and I ran like a wild stallion on the Indian plains. I ran with the determination of a greyhound near the finish line. Back in those days, tiredness was only a myth. As I prepared to cross the ball towards the head of our infallible striker, my arachnic instinct perceived a defender sliding like a derailed train trying to block the ball, and I stopped. I changed my plan. I let the train pass, and when the last wagon left me behind, I saw Marco, the gifted one, the talented. I gave the ball to him, and Marco turned as if to play the ball to the other side of the field. And when we all expected the pass, surprise, he gave the ball back to me. I touched it a little bit forward, and my friends, I was in heaven. I was in paradise. I was in the nirvana of football. I was only 2 meters away from the goal with no adversaries in front, ready to shoot, and boom! The velocity of the events compressed in the following second requires that we see them in a slow motion. The sound that you heard, this boom, was produced by the megalithic force of the bridge of my foot impacting the ball that was launched towards the goal at light speed, but one of the poles got in between. But the force was so intense that the ball bended itself around the pole in an affectionate hug. Nevertheless, the vital urge of the ball's anatomy to return to its fundamental shape propelled the ball back towards my head with distressing energy, and poof! My brain was squeezed against my skull, and the shake of the cerebrospinal fluid felt like an epic sea storm. But my head decided to fight back and boom, vindictively fired the ball back like a cannon towards the pole. But this time the pole acted as an immutable king, decided to bring matters to an end. And she shot the ball back, ferociously aiming at my mouth, and my lips disappeared for a moment before my tooth exploded in a glimmer of blood. Boom, 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 boom. My friends, this is how I stretch the possibilities of time and accomplish 4 things in 1 second. I missed the unmissable goal. I glorify myself with shame. I procure my brain a solid concussion, and I misplace my tooth. Toastmaster.
Yes, you can catch the next special on Comedy Central by Carlos. So check your local listing to make sure that you get to hear how he accomplished 15 other things in 2 seconds. Now, our next evaluators will be accomplishing something great in 1 minute each. Mac.
Thank you, Roger. Andrew, great visual presence, eye contact. You caught my attention right off the bat with a personal story to Iceland where I'd never been. So you were connecting with the audience. You used some descriptive language, gentle with the throttle. It was kind of a tug and pull on a travel log with a lot of details and facts and with personal stories. I would have liked to heard more personal stories. You started in it. You're on the ski-doo. You know, the gentle on the throttle. Your wife's on the back. You're weaving through the snow and that. The geyser, boom. Very frustrating taking pictures. The key is we got to get you up, more hand gestures. You had about 3, which was good. Get that body moving. And I really want you to get up and just ride that ski-doo. I'll be sending you a written evaluation of more detail. Back to you, Roger.
Thank you, Mac. Well, not to be outdone by Mac, we are going to round out this meeting with Shirley. Shirley, tell us, what did you see and observe from Carlos' speech?
Carlos's purpose was to use descriptive language to bring his message across. And wow, did he do that right from the beginning. And he led us on a journey of how he ended up at a dentist and the trauma that he experienced at that dentist. But bringing us to that point, he took us on that journey. And there were so many words that he used in there. And Carlos, I like the fact that you stood up because it allowed you to use that time and that energy to really bring your message across. And you talked, there were so many descriptive words in there that it's harder to really single out what was the most important, but you talked about things like metallic force, the lightning speed that it came to you. Now, the only thing that I would suggest, because I'm going to have to write it in a formal evaluation, because 1 minute is just not enough time to tell you all the good things you did. But the one thing that I would like for you to think about is your background, because there were opportunities when you were bringing your message across, but it was fading into the yellow background of your screen. So we really couldn't see some of the movement. So that's my only suggestion for you. But what an incredible speech and an incredible example of using descriptive language to bring your message across. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Shirley, and thank you each and every one of the evaluators for squeezing your best tips to us. Please remember to write your written evaluation and send it to your speakers. And speakers, all power to you. Amina, great. She just found out from Hans in the WhatsApp group that Hans couldn't make it today. We got an opening. I sent a message to Amina, and she said, yeah, of course, I will be there. And she's there with that rocket feel. So I am going to stop our recording.